Hey everyone, CWD Music Reviews here. I'm CWD and this is going to be a music review of the new Ab-Soul album, Do It Thou Wilt. He is best known for being a part of the label TDE as well as a member of the rap collective Black Hippie, and this is his latest full-length album. I haven't been that particularly invested in this member of TDE or Black Hippie, though I have liked albums like Control System before, and he definitely displays a lot of lyrical density and capabilities as a rapper. Plus a lot of features he's been on as of late. They definitely impressed me a lot. Ab-Soul is definitely piquing my interest as he showed up in more guest spots for particular rappers and particular albums in general. So when I heard that he was going to have a new album coming out, and he pretty much announced it like a week or two before it dropped, I definitely saw no reason why I shouldn't check it out, and I definitely saw no reason why I wouldn't like it. So what did I think? Well, I do like this thing quite a bit. It's definitely an intriguing album. I can't say that it's fully gripped me as a listener. And I think that isn't due to part in some issues with production and maybe some lackluster features here and there. This album's about 16 tracks in length, about 78 minutes or so. So it's definitely pretty lengthy. It's definitely proving to the listener that Ab has quite a bit of things to say on one single record. And as far as his lyricism goes, I'm definitely intrigued with what he's talking about. He has a lot of things in particular to say about women and feminism in general, like the track Threatening Nature, where he pretty much says that in grade school he learned about history but nobody seemed to ask about her story, going so far as to say that black men could vote before women could in America. Out of all 66 books in the Bible, women barely said a word. He seems to be very cautious and very alarmed by how much women have been suppressed in terms of their voice throughout history in general, whether that be religion or politics or society. Take a track, Womanogamy, where he has two lesbian friends and he's so charitable and so willing to donate his own sperm so that way they can have their own children. He actually jokes that he'd actually pay one of them if he could actually hit it. A bit off, but it's definitely a funny little moment. And he's definitely capable of quite a bit of humor all over this album. Take the track Wifey versus Wi-Fi, for example, where on the tail end of the second verse, he seems having a conversation with somebody, and the guy pretty much tells Ab that, you know how when you dial 2 it's ABC, 3 is DF. Now try to type in MOM and he just notices that MOM is 666. Or the tail end of Portishead in the Morning, one of the two-parter tracks on the album. He makes this joke that God has to be a thought because men are designed by biology to have erections, and when they get erections all the blood flows into their area instead of their brain or their feet, so they can't think or walk. The track Now You Know, he mentions the word miss in certain words like mistake, mystery, and all these other words. It kind of reminds me of the latest Elzai album that came out a few months ago, except he actually says something about it. He's not doing what Elzai did with the miss prefix, where he's like, oh, I dated mystery, misunderstood, misrepresented. No, he's noting that what all these words have in common is that they are pretty problematic in nature, like misogyny. So quite a bit to say about feminism and women in general. He definitely seems to take a abstract route to what it is he's talking about in pretty much a blunt manner, and that definitely represents his rap name, his moniker in general, Abstract Asshole, which pretty much leads me to not really have anything negative to say about the lyricism, except for maybe the law, where he talks about love being the law, and it just seems like a really cliche way to approach it. It was pretty much the reason why I wasn't that into the new Mick Jenkins album, The Healing Component. So like I said, my issue isn't so much with the lyricism or even Ab's rapping, since he's pretty much capable, incredibly capable in both regards, especially in his flows. Take the opening track, Raw Backwards, where he definitely opens the album up particularly well, in particularly aggressive fashion, even if the hook feels pretty dry. Or the track Beat the Case featuring Schoolboy Q, where he definitely glides over this really bassy, nocturnal, and hard-hitting beat particularly well. Or even some of the more low-key tracks like INvocation, which has like a jazzy and dark and nocturnal vibe to it. Or maybe like Now You Know, where he still has a commanding presence here. The thing about each individual track I can at least say about Ab-Soul, the one consistent thing about the entire album is he definitely has quite a bit of presence on his own album, for the most part. Maybe the only misstep I can think about is Evil Genius, where the instrumental is just too stripped back and too nocturnal for its own good that Ab just kind of gets lost in it. Or maybe the track Lonely Soul, where Ab and Punch kind of sound too eerily similar to one another. But my issue isn't so much what Ab is saying or how he's saying it, it's so much what kind of instrumentals he's working with a good portion of the time. The first half of the album, really good, pretty fantastic. I'd actually say that if the first half was there, the entirety of the first half was there, and maybe if just a few tracks from the second half were there, this would have been a fantastic album. Because like I mentioned, a good chunk of the tracks, like Threatening Nature and Womanogamy, they definitely have a lot of eeriness and darkness to what the beats are trying to go for. The track Threatening Nature having like this boom-bap-ish combination of these stuttering vocal samples throughout the track. That's definitely intriguing. I also like the bells that come in that definitely add to a haunting nature. Womanogamy does something similar to this, except embrace a kind of a trap feel to it with how thick and heavy the bass is on this cut. The same can be said about Beat the Case, as well as Huey Knew Then and Braille. The latter two tracks I think could have done without the features, especially Boss's feature, which he's okay on the cut. He definitely is comfortable on the track. I just don't know what Boss here is saying that is particularly adding anything to the track. Although Dash on Huey Knew Then definitely is one of the better features on the whole record. As far as the feature list goes, I have to say that Schoolboy Q is my only favorite one. He definitely fits in with the aggressive nature on Beat the Case, and he definitely adds a lot to that track. But the rest of them, Boss's was okay, Dash was okay. I don't understand why Mac Miller on The Law was just on the hook and he didn't have his own legitimate verse. Rhapsody doesn't add much to that particular track either. Although whoever B32 on the second half of Wifey vs. Wi-Fi and P.M.S, he definitely intrigues me particularly well, especially with the linking of penitentiary mind state with the usual acronym P.M.S. And that's another thing I want to note. There's like these two-parter tracks. I think I only are particularly into half of them. Particularly maybe Wifey vs. Wi-Fi, Beat the Case, and Portishead in the Morning. Even if Portishead in the Morning, again, kind of a nocturnal nature to it that I'm not really 100% into. The thing about the second half of this album is the fact that the production just doesn't know what to do a good chunk of the time. Like the track God's a Girl, which it started out particularly interesting and pretty intriguing, but it just kind of gets lost within itself, and it just feels completely directionless. Lonely Soul definitely did have quite a bit of interesting production and definitely had an eeriness within this, I guess, Arabian vocal sample going on. But again, Punch isn't really adding much to the track. I do like the track Drugs though, even if it is a little long. It's pretty much this really haunting and dramatic piano line that I do like a lot. And Ab definitely sounds incredibly emotional over this cut. And the closing track, YMF, again, not a production style, not a production direction that I agree with in a lot of ways, especially with this revving synth going on that has kind of an EDM-ish vibe to it. These little bright percussion hits that I don't really vibe with all that well. But Ab still has quite a bit of presence, and he definitely himself guides the album out particularly well. He does have this little shot at Nas, I think, still putting out that ether. But since Nas got a new girl, he hasn't putting out new music either. So that's really the album in a nutshell. A lot of dense, interesting lyrical moments. definitely lots of humor, even if it's dark, all over the course of the album. And Ab has a lot of presence as a vocalist and as a rapper in general. But unfortunately, it's got moments that, while I do like in terms of production, it's also got a substantial amount that, while I don't hate, I just find kind of off or just incohesive with the rest of the album in general. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to what Ab-Soul is doing next, because he definitely has my wholehearted attention with this album. But as far as me returning to this album, it's going to be kind of difficult for me since it's relatively inaccessible. But you should definitely check it out if you're a big TDE guy, if you love Black Hippie, if you're a fan of Kendrick Lamar, and if you're a fan of Schoolboy Q and all those guys. If you're just pretty much a guy that is looking for intriguing lyricism in hip-hop music, then you're definitely going to want to give this a try, because this is definitely up in your alley. This album is a plus 1.8 out of plus 3. Maybe when Ab comes up with a new record in the coming years or so, I'll definitely be looking forward to when that's going to drop. But if you give this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you like this album? Did you dislike this album? What was your reason for that, and what should I consider listening to and reviewing next? This is CWD Music Reviews here, signing off.